So this video, I'm going to introduce to you how to make a quick landscape in Unreal. And this is just introduction video. And we're just going to be looking over the basics and how to create your own landscape material. So up here at the top, we have the selection mode. And the next mode we have is landscape, which is convenient for us because that's what we're looking at today. So you have information here from, world partitions to size. You can even drop the material in first, but we don't have that made yet. You can also look at the section size. In the beginning, I would just keep it around 15 quads. We'll look at creating, larger landscapes later, but I feel like this is enough to kind of get you started without being too overwhelmed. And then same thing with the resolution. We'll keep it around there for now. Then go ahead and hit create. And right now you just have this grid because we don't have a material yet. But let's first look at our sculpting tools. And this will allow us to kind of move around and edit just the topography of our landscape. So the first tool is sculpt. It tends to be the one I tend to use the most. And if you simply just paint on here on your landscape, this will allow you to sculpt or kind of push up your landscape to kind of start creating mountains. And I typically just use, for the most part, the sculpt tool the most, and I'll often use the smooth to kind of go back. Sometimes I'll use the erase and the flatten. You can also use these erosion tools that kind of give these effect of like erosion due to water or natural environment stuff. But for the most part, I just keep it simple and focus on a couple tools. So let's look at creating our first material, and then we'll look at how to paint that material into our landscape. So to our content drawer, and then I'm going to right click and create a new material. And we'll call this one landscape. And like most things, there's a variety of ways we can go about doing this. But the first thing we want is a landscape layer blend. And this will allow us to blend various landscape layers to fit our needs. So I can, over here, I have my different layers. If I add one, this will be my first layer. And I will call my first one grass, and it'll pop up here. And then I'll add another one or I'll call it gravel. And then I'll create another one and call it rock. And I could also create a material attributes node, but I'm gonna keep it simple and just kind of drag in my raw textures. And I'd recommend going on the Fab store and looking up some better ground materials, but the starter content has enough for us to take a look at for this tutorial. So under starter content, of course, we have all these materials, but I'm going to be using the textures, which is the texture files for the materials as well. So I will just drag in my grass, and then I will pull in my content for gravel, and then I will pull in my content for rock. And then I could go ahead and drag these right into the corresponding nodes I just created for my various layers. And then I can go ahead and drag this into my base color. Now, you can also, another one of these or for your different material attributes. So I'll copy and paste that. For my roughness, I think it's easiest just increase that to 1. I mean, most things just to simplify things, because most things are pretty rough when it comes to landscapes. But if I wanted to add stuff for my normal, let's go ahead and drag those in as well. And then we can drag that into our normal. And you notice the material looks black right now, and that's okay because there's multiple layers going on here. So it's kind of combining them all. And go ahead and apply and save. And let's go ahead and add this to our landscape. And it'll make a little bit more sense of what we just created. So if we select our landscape, and you have this category here for landscape material, so that's where we're going to go back to our landscape material, and we'll just simply drag that into here. So now everything kind of looks like black and gray, but if we go over to paint, you notice our layers pull up right here. And if we go ahead and create layer info with this plus sign, and we're going to select weight blended layer, And then do the same thing for your gravel and rock layer as well. And our first one shows up first, which is convenient because that's what we want for this grass. And now I can actually paint these. If I select gravel, and you can, again, play with the brush size, how strong it is, and the fall off, and go ahead and paint our gravel in various areas. You could also do the same for our rock as we start getting more into mountains. But in our next video, we'll take a look at how to make some of these features more automatic and streamlined, such as assigning something that changes depending on the height of our landscape.